Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm Sam. Hope you're doing really great today. I want to give you guys my formalized thoughts on iOS 13, my review of it now that I've been using it. A lot of people love to rush out day after iOS 13 review, but I feel like you just never really get a fair sense of how it actually works and how it actually is and the implications for the future unless you seriously sit down with it. I've been using it on my daily driver every single day since it came out just about a month ago. So this is my iOS 13 review. If you're excited, drop a like down below, you know the drill, and hit subscribe so you stay up to date on the latest Apple news. This year, more than any other in the past 6, feels like Apple is finally listening to us. I don't know if you guys have seen the feature list for iOS 13. We got dark mode, a swipe keyboard, a dedicated operating system exclusive to the iPad with a ton of iPad exclusive features. That's a story for another day. You get mouse support there. Font management is finally here, and on top of everything else, Apple has actually made app downloads smaller on the App Store whenever iOS 13 comes out, and some apps launch up to twice as fast, and Face ID unlock up to 30% quicker. I mean, that is a significant update. These are 5 things that we have wanted to see forever, and this year Apple introduced them. And this is why I think more so than ever before, Apple is taking a different approach to software. You probably saw the news that the chief design officer, Johnny Ive, is officially leaving the company, but still sort of working with Apple. Well, a lot of stories have come out basically saying that the dude has been taking a hands-off approach at Apple for 4 or 5 years, basically since the Apple Watch came out. He doesn't come into the office that much. He basically put some people in place who he thought would be good, and they have been more or less running the reins. He's just sort of held this title that didn't really mean anything. And I think that's a good thing. Listen, when Johnny Ive was here in Apple's prime, we got the iPhone, the iPod, some of the first great Macs out there. We got new versions of the Apple Watch and AirPods. That stuff was groundbreaking. That was stuff that we had never really seen done that well before, and Apple came out with it. Johnny Ive was the chief designer. Also, iOS 7, Johnny Ive was one of the key creative forces behind that. And I think since then, Apple's realized that while Johnny's really good at hardware design, software, maybe not so much. iOS 7 changed all the visuals on the iPhone, and it was, good for some people, bad for others. I was sort of in the middle. I really liked it, but I noticed that, it's been a little bit too simple. Since iOS 7, each and every single year, little piece by little piece, iOS has been returning to more detail. I'm not talking about iOS 6, where everything was absolutely crisp and clear and there was dots and detail present everywhere within apps, on the home screen, on icons. No, just they've sort of taken that minimalist approach but tweaked it a little bit, and I've noticed it going in a really good direction. A lot of the actual UI icons in iOS 13 are a little bit different. The widgets in iOS 13 look a little bit nicer. So what I'm saying is that while Johnny Ive is gone now, I don't think that that's going to impact the future and positive direction that iOS is headed in any way. In fact, I think maybe his lack of presence at Apple has given some new designers with fresh ideas the ability to sort of take hold of iOS and do stuff with it that we haven't been able to do forever, or since Johnny Ive has basically been in charge of design at Apple. Now, when I look at iOS 13, I get a very different sense for Apple as a company, because it's not these random incremental upgrades that nobody's wanted, that nobody's asked for. It feels like, again, for once, they're actually listening, and that they understand that while some design philosophy might say one thing, users want something else. And I'm noticing this slowly but surely as Apple sort of reverses the way that they've been doing things. Now, I don't know if this is going to continue forever, but I kind of like where it's going now. I mean, look at the Mac Pro. It's a crazy expensive computer. It is not at all made for consumers, but that's exactly what the Mac Pro should be, right? It should be this insane, expensive, totally configurable computer for professionals. It's called the Mac Professional for a reason. The iPhone as well is getting updated this year. It's got 3 cameras. It does look a little bit weird, but what's the most important part of the iPhone? I would argue the software on it. So when you look at iOS 13, again, that is sort of what we have been waiting on for years. It feels like this is an iOS 13 of the people rather than iOS 13 created by Apple. My eyes don't burn at night anymore. My Android friends that had the swipe keyboard, I can do that too. The Photos app got a beautiful redesign, makes looking at memories so much more enjoyable because Apple took a focus on how you feel when you're using the Photos app, and wanted to show you stuff relevant to that rather than just, a Photos app that gets you to your most recent photo most quickly. You can still do that really easily, but there's, again, a focus on a more human feel. And that's the key part of iOS 13. And I also think a key part of Apple's product pipeline moving forward in the future. And if you're still not convinced that iOS 13 is a cultural shift for the company and the way they are making software, look at iPad OS. Apple now has a dedicated version of software just for the iPad. Again, how long have we been waiting for this? Since the iPad Pro came out and Apple started calling it a computer. And now with iPad OS 13, it just might be able to replace your laptop because you have mouse support, you have a USB thumb drive or external hard drive support, plug it and play right out of the box. The reason I wanted to make this review instead of my just thoughts and impressions on iOS 13 is because I wanted to sort of concretely highlight the positive changes that are happening. While iOS felt stagnant for so long, I mean, even 10, 11, 12, there's not a whole lot going on. This update right here on my phone, this feels significant. This doesn't feel like something that Apple spent a day on or a week on or even a year on. We know for a fact they've worked on this for 2 to 3 years. And I will tell you, it shows exponentially the second you pick up this device, whether you're on your iPhone, your iPad, or your brand new 7th generation iPod Touch. You guys are gonna love this. You're going to really enjoy the features. And when it comes out in September of 2019, absolutely upgrade. If you guys have been beta testing iOS 13 or you've gotten hands-on with it in some regard, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Are you going to be upgraded? Are you excited? I genuinely mean it when I say I have never been more optimistic about the future of iOS. Like, everything is just, it's finally coming together, guys. We've waited so long for this, and I'm looking forward to see what Apple continues to cook up over the course of the next couple years. That's all for this video. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Hit subscribe for more. I've been Sam, and I'll talk to you all in my next video.